Protesters across Iran are outraged by the US decision to abandon the 2015 nuclear deal. And they're not holding back, with the return of sanctions only making things worse. Several Iranian companies and individuals are the first to feel the effects of fresh US sanctions. 6 individuals linked to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard's elite Quds force and 3 firms will be blacklisted by US authorities. Washington accuses them of funneling US dollars to fund terrorist networks. It's just one sector expected to be hurt over the next 3 to 6 months. The Trump administration is also reportedly planning to send teams of US officials to Asia, Europe, and the Middle East to convince other nations to follow suit. Those plans are despite other signatories of the Iran nuclear deal drawing the line on Trump's decision. The German, French, and British foreign ministers are expected to meet on Tuesday in Brussels to discuss the preservation of the agreement. Germany and France have promised to keep it alive, while also planning to seek waivers from the US to maintain economic ties with Iran.
We want to keep on doing business with Iran in the frame of a strategic deal which was agreed and where Iran abandons its nuclear weapons. We think it is the right thing to do.
The US insists that the goal of the sanctions isn't to isolate Iran from the world, but to drive it to negotiate a new deal. One sector feeling the jitters from the uncertainty is oil.
Well, the oil situation is going to be a very significant one. What the markets have already found is that, yes, there's going to be some tension. Prices have risen a little bit before the announcement, which was expected. They've come down a little bit since. The implications for Iran oil are right now rather uncertain.
But the Iranian oil minister has expressed confidence in the oil industry, saying on Thursday that it could survive an expected flurry of exits from foreign investors. Zanganeh also said he expects Iran's oil production to maintain its level of output for the rest of the year. Global oil prices are hovering at a 3.5-year high and could rise further, with the Bank of America forecasting the return of $100 a barrel as soon as next year. Laila Humairah, TRT World.
Let's bring in Hooshang Amirahmadi in Princeton. He's the president and founder of the American Iranian Council. Hooshang, thank you very much for joining us on Money Talks. It's great to see you again.
My pleasure.
What is the likely impact, do you think, of these sanctions on the Iranian economy and, in particular, the Iranian people?
It's quite a lot. Iran's economy is already in trouble. Even with the JCPOA in place, with the US in, Iran really only benefited partially, if I may say, from that deal. And now with the US out, and particularly if sanctions on the central bank in 3 months and oil in 6 months come back, that's a disastrous news for the Iranian economy. And there is no way that that particular loss could be replaced by anything. I mean, Europeans really, even when the US was in the deal, the Europeans didn't deliver on their commitments. They did not make foreign investment in the country. They only sold a little bit here and there. They were only interested in trade.
Right.
What Iran needs is hard investment.
Right.
Investment in the oil sector.
Hooshang,
investment.
As you mentioned, there is a lead-up time to these sanctions kicking in. What is Iran likely to be doing in those months ahead of that, when the sanctions do kick in?
Well, I think that Iran has already begun to negotiate. They are not being honest and open to the public. They are, in a way, negotiating with the US again, but this time through the for the Europeans. This is what Iran did back in 2003. In a way, we are back to square one in 2003 when the 3 European foreign ministers from England, France, and Germany went to Tehran in Saadabad and started this negotiation. And for 9 years, they were negotiating and got nowhere until the US came on board, and gradually the process got more serious. So again, I believe Tehran is making every effort to go back to the table. I think Tehran will return to the negotiations table. Iran has no option. Europeans are not going to be helpful to Iran. And Tehran should not fool itself thinking that Europeans without the US will indeed help Iran. All the Europeans at this point want is to keep Iran in the deal. It has been largely a one-way street. From now on, it will be 100% one-way street if Iran stays in the deal.
Right.
So again, the Europeans are doing their best through Americans to keep Iran in the deal, and at the same time put pressure on Iran for more concessions on the nuclear deal and other issues.
Right, but do you think, Hooshang, that that Europe could play any kind of role in isolating the US? Could Europe theoretically carry on under the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, with Iran, excluding the US, or would the deal completely break down?
No, again, I mean, Europe has neither the US nor Europe want the Europe out. They want it all in. See, this is a trick. Europe is the good cop and Americans are the bad cop. The Europeans will stay. The problem is not that they don't stay. They wanted to stay, but they will not be able to deliver on their commitments economically, for example. European companies are not going to go against the American will and invest in Iran because they know they're going to be fined, punished in billions. So Europeans are going to say, we are there, so that would be more theoretical.
I see.
Iranians would say, okay, we are staying. Again, practical. Unfortunately, Iran is practically staying, and Europeans are theoretically there.
Right. Fascinating subject. I'm sure we'll be coming back to it in the future. But meantime, Hooshang Amirahmadi in Princeton, thank you so much.